Victoria's life had always felt a bit too loud, even when everything was silent. In the bustling heart of the city, where the honk of taxis and the chatter of pedestrians formed a constant symphony, she found herself overwhelmed by the unspoken. It wasn't the noise of the world that bothered her. It was the invisible undercurrents that pulled at her soul. From a young age, Victoria had been the kind of person who noticed the subtle shifts in people's expressions. The way a colleague's eyes darted away during a conversation, or how her neighbor's shoulders slumped just a fraction more than usual. She carried other people's moods like invisible weights, absorbing them without complaint, often without even realizing it. Growing up in a modest apartment on the edge of downtown, Victoria shared her space with her younger sister, Alina, and their aging mother. The three of them formed a tight-knit unit, bound by shared hardships and quiet affections. Their father had left when Victoria was 10, leaving behind a void that she tried to fill with her unwavering support. Alina, with her fiery spirit and dreams of becoming an artist, often confided in Victoria about her frustrations, the rejections from galleries, the endless hours spent sketching in their cramped living room. Victoria would listen, offering gentle words of encouragement, but deep down, she felt the sting of her sister's disappointments as if they were her own. At work, Victoria was a librarian in a small community branch, surrounded by shelves of books that whispered stories of escape and solace. She loved the job for its tranquility, but even there, the weights accumulated. Patrons came in with their own burdens. The elderly man who borrowed mystery novels to distract from his loneliness, the young mother juggling a toddler and a stack of self-help books on parenting. Victoria saw it all, felt it all. She would recommend titles not just based on preferences, but on the hidden needs she intuited. "This one might help with that feeling of being overwhelmed," she'd say softly, handing over a book on mindfulness, and watch as gratitude flickered in their eyes. And although no one ever asked her to save them, she always tried. It started small, staying late to help a coworker sort through overdue fines, or offering to babysit for a friend so they could have a night out. But over time, it became a pattern. Victoria's empathy was her greatest strength and her silent curse. She didn't know she was waiting for something to shift, to make sense of the constant hum of emotions that echoed in her chest. She went through her days with a smile, masking the exhaustion that crept in at night when she lay in bed, replaying the day's interactions like a film reel. One crisp autumn evening, as the leaves turned gold outside her window, Victoria sat with Alina over a simple dinner of pasta and salad. Alina was unusually quiet, picking at her food. "What's wrong?" Victoria asked, her voice laced with concern. Alina shrugged, but Victoria felt the weight, a recent breakup, unspoken but heavy. She reached across the table, squeezing her sister's hand. "It'll be okay," she whispered, though she wished she could do more, see more. Little did she know the universe was listening. The city lights flickered on as night fell, casting long shadows across the room. Victoria retired to her bed, the weight of the day pressing down. She didn't know she was waiting. Until the day everything changed. She woke up and something had shifted. It wasn't the sunlight streaming through the thin curtains of her bedroom window, nor the distant sound of the city stirring to life, the rumble of buses, the chatter of early risers on the street below. No, it was deeper, more intrinsic. As Victoria blinked away the remnants of sleep, a clarity washed over her, sharp and unyielding, like stepping out of a fog into crystalline air. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with an inexplicable certainty. She sat up in bed, her hands trembling slightly as she pushed back the covers. The apartment was quiet, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Victoria glanced at the clock, 6:45 a.m., earlier than her usual wake-up time. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, her feet touching the cool hardwood floor. As she stood, a wave of awareness hit her. It was knowing, not just surface thoughts, but the underlayers of truth that people buried deep within themselves. Alina was still asleep in the next room, but Victoria could feel her presence vividly. She padded down the hallway, pausing outside her sister's door. Without knocking, she knew. Alina hadn't said it yet, but the breakup from last night wasn't just a fling gone wrong. It was tied to deeper insecurities about her art, fears that she wasn't good enough. Victoria's chest tightened with empathy, but this time, it was accompanied by an almost tangible insight, like reading words etched in the air. Shaking her head, as if to dispel a dream, Victoria made her way to the kitchen. She brewed coffee, the aroma filling the small space, grounding her. But as she poured a cup, the phone buzzed on the counter. It was her best friend, Mia, texting about meeting for brunch. Victoria smiled at the message, but beneath it, she sensed the pain. Mia was smiling in her profile picture, but the truth was a recent diagnosis of anxiety, hidden behind jokes and casual outings. Victoria set the phone down, her mind reeling. What was happening? She looked at her reflection in the window, her dark hair tousled, brown eyes wide with wonder. Had she always been this perceptive, or was this new? Testing it, she thought of her mother, who was away visiting relatives. Instantly, a warmth flooded her. Her mother was content but worried about finances. It was as if Victoria could reach out and touch these truths, feel them in her bones. The day unfolded like any other, but laced with this newfound gift. At the library, as she shelved books, a patron approached, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. "Looking for something uplifting," the woman said. Victoria nodded, but she knew. The woman was grieving a lost pet, a companion of 15 years. Without hesitation, Victoria pulled a book on healing from loss. "This might resonate," she said gently. The woman's eyes welled up. "How did you know?" she whispered. Victoria just smiled, her heart swelling. By evening, as she met Mia for brunch at their favorite cafe, the gift intensified. Mia chatted about work, but Victoria saw the cracks. The medication she was starting, the fear of vulnerability. Over eggs and toast, Victoria reached out. "You don't have to hide it from me," she said softly. Mia froze, then broke down in quiet tears, confessing everything. For the first time, Victoria felt powerful, useful in a way that transcended mere listening. But as the sun set, doubt crept in. Was this empathy amplified or something supernatural? Victoria walked home, the city lights blurring as questions swirled. She looked at her sister and knew what she hadn't said. She felt the pain behind her friend's smile. Victoria had become something new, something that could feel truth. And as she lay in bed that night, the weight of it all began to settle, a double-edged sword gleaming in the dark. Helping others felt like breathing, natural, necessary. In the days following her awakening, Victoria dove into her gift with a fervor she hadn't known she possessed. It started small. At the library, she guided patrons to books that addressed their unspoken struggles. A novel on forgiveness for a man harboring resentment toward his family. A memoir on resilience for a teenager facing bullying. Each interaction left her buoyed, a sense of purpose igniting within her. City, once a cacophony of distant emotions, now felt like a tapestry she could weave through, mending threads where they frayed. Alina was the first close one she truly helped. That evening, as they sat on the couch watching an old movie, Victoria turned to her. "Your art is beautiful, Alina. Don't let one person's opinion dim that." Alina looked up, startled. "How did you? I didn't tell you about the critique." Victoria hesitated, then explained as best she could, the knowing that had bloomed overnight. Alina's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she hugged her sister, tears flowing. "You've always seen me," she whispered. From then on, Victoria helped Alina navigate her doubts, suggesting galleries and encouraging her to submit work. Alina's confidence grew, her sketches taking on new life. Word spread subtly. Friends like Mia sought her out, and soon strangers too. A coworker confided in her about marital troubles, and Victoria's insights, gleaned from the truths she felt, offered clarity that therapy hadn't. "It's like you read my mind," the coworker said, amazed. But with each helping hand, Victoria felt a toll. The truths weren't just facts, they were emotions, raw and unfiltered. Each heartbreak she touched became a thread pulling her apart. Sleepless nights followed, her mind echoing with the pains of others, a child's fear of abandonment, a neighbor's secret illness. It was during one such weary day that the man appeared. Victoria was in the park near the library, sitting on a bench with a book, trying to escape into fiction. The autumn leaves swirled around her, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of rain. He approached quietly, an older gentleman with silver hair and kind, weary eyes, dressed in a worn coat. "May I sit?" he asked. Victoria nodded, but instantly she knew he had carried the same gift once years ago. It had shaped him, broken him, and ultimately he had let it go. His name was Samuel. Over the next hour, as joggers passed and children played, he shared his story. "Clarity came to me in my 30s, he said, his voice low. "At first, it was a blessing. I helped so many friends, family, even strangers on the street. But it burns, Victoria, the weight of knowing everyone's truth. It erodes you." She stared at him, heart pounding. How did he know her name? "The gift shows me echoes," he explained. "You're new to it, but listen, it's not yours to keep forever. It passes through us like a flame handed from one to another." Samuel warned her of the dangers. The isolation that came from seeing too much, the exhaustion that turned empathy into burden. "I've seen others lose themselves," he said. "Cling to it and it consumes you. Let it go at the right time and you find freedom." As he spoke, Victoria felt his own past pains, a lost love he couldn't save, regrets that lingered. When he left, handing her a small card with his number, she sat there, the park fatting around her. The gift was beautiful, but it burned. And for the first time, she wondered if she could bear it. Days turned to weeks, and the wear intensified. Victoria helped a young man overcome addiction, a woman reconcile with her estranged daughter. Each victory was sweet, but the threads pulled tighter. Headaches plagued her and sleep became elusive. She confided in Samuel over coffee, and he nodded knowingly. "The choice is coming," he said. "Prepare yourself." She learned the gift would not last. It came in a dream one night, vivid and unrelenting. Victoria stood on a cliff's edge, the wind whipping her hair, the ocean crashing below. In the dream, Samuel's voice echoed. It was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be passed on. She woke with a start, the truth settling like a stone in her stomach. The clarity wasn't a lifelong companion. It was a temporary visitor designed to teach, to heal, and then to move forward. The next day, Victoria sought out Samuel at a quiet cafe downtown. The air was thick with the aroma of fresh pastries and coffee. He sat in the corner, nursing a tea as if expecting her. "The dream," she said, sliding into the seat. He nodded. "It's the signal. The gift fades if you keep it too long. You lose yourself in the process. Or you give it away to someone who needs it more." Victoria's hands trembled around her mug. "How do I choose?" Samuel explained the mechanics, drawn from his own experience and those before him. The gift was like a light, passed through generations of quiet souls. Keeping it meant power, but at the cost of one's humanity. The constant influx of truths eroded boundaries, leading to madness or isolation. Giving it away restored balance, allowing the bearer to return to normalcy, enriched by the experience. "You'll know the next one," he said. "They'll shine to you their need clear." Victoria left the cafe with a heavy heart, the city bustling around her oblivious. She wandered the streets, the weight pressing. Could she keep it and lose herself, or give it away? The world felt alive, aching with unspoken stories. A street vendor hiding debt, a couple arguing silently on a bench. She stood on the edge of that decision, the precipice real now. Over the following days, Victoria tested the boundaries. She helped fewer people, conserving her energy, but the gift urged her onward. Alina noticed her withdrawal. "What's wrong, Vic?" she asked one evening as they prepared dinner. Victoria confessed partially, the exhaustion, the doubts. Alina hugged her. "You don't have to carry it all." But Victoria knew she did, for now. A crisis came when she encountered a family in distress at the library. A mother and son, the boy withdrawn, the mother desperate. Victoria saw the truth, abuse from the father, hidden bruises. She intervened subtly, connecting them to resources, but the emotional toll left her bedridden for a day. Samuel visited. "This is why it must pass," he said. "You're strong, but not unbreakable." As the gift began to flicker, moments where truths blurred, Victoria grappled with the choice. Keep the power and risk everything, or release it and embrace softness again. Nights were spent in reflection, journaling her thoughts, the city lights her only company. Finally, acceptance dawned. The gift was a teacher, not a keeper. She would find the next light. On the steps of a quiet church, she found him. It was a Sunday afternoon, the air crisp with the promise of winter. Victoria had been wandering, drawn by an invisible pull, away from her usual paths. The church, an old stone building tucked between modern high-rises, exuded peace. She climbed the steps, seeking solace when she saw the boy. He sat alone, huddled in a worn jacket, his dark hair falling over eyes that held worlds of sorrow. No older than 12, he stared at the ground, silent amid the trickle of parishioners leaving service. Victoria paused, and the gift surged. The boy's story unfolded like a book. Elijah, orphaned young, shuffled through foster homes, unseen and unheard. Pain from neglect, but beneath it, a strength, a quiet empathy that mirrored her own. He noticed too much, felt too deeply, but without the tools to process it. She approached slowly, sitting beside him. "Hi," she said softly. "Mind if I join you?" Elijah looked up, wary, but didn't move away. Victoria felt his truths, the latest foster family overwhelmed, his fears of being invisible forever. They talked about the weather, the pigeons cooing nearby, then deeper. "Sometimes the world feels too loud," she said. He nodded, eyes widening. "How do you know?" In that moment, she knew the gift belonged to him now. It resonated, a perfect fit for his resilient heart. With a deep breath, Victoria placed her hand on his shoulder. "I have something for you," she whispered. A warmth transferred like light pouring from her to him. The knowing shifted, fatting from her as it bloomed in him. Elijah gasped, his eyes clearing. What? But understanding dawned, she gave it freely. And felt herself return to softness. The weights lifted, the truths quieting to normal intuition. Elijah stood, a new purpose in his stance. "Thank you," he said before disappearing into the crowd. Victoria sat there, free, the church bells tolling like a benediction. The boy's name was Elijah. Years later, he became a quiet kind of healer. Growing up, the gift guided him, helping classmates, then communities, always with gentleness. He became a counselor, touching lives without fanfare, the clarity his tool for good. Victoria never saw him again, but she lived differently. Freed from the burden, she embraced her softness. She became a writer, penning stories that mirrored souls, feelers of the human experience. Her first book, inspired by her journey, touched many. A feeler, a mirror. She no longer held clarity, but she never stopped loving with it. In quiet moments, she smiled, knowing the light continued. Writing this story helped me explore a part of myself that sees people deeply, beyond their words and their wounds. I hope it reminds you that you don't need superpowers to be a light in someone's life. If you enjoyed this story, kindly subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories as this.